Moo.
Why'd you scare me?
Getting into the spirit of Halloween.
It's Halloween?
It's coming up.
Oh, are you ready for Halloween? Is your dog ready for Halloween? That's exactly what we're talking about today. Welcome back to the McCann Dogs Podcast.
Honda's starting to think about Halloween.
Oh, yeah?
And all the treats and fun that come with it.
Oh, what's he going out for Halloween as?
As a pumpkin spice.
A pumpkin spice?
A pumpkin spice.
So what is a pumpkin spice? Is that like a pumpkin with some cinnamon on it? Or is he going to be like a spice jar with a pumpkin? Like, what's a pumpkin spice?
He hasn't decided yet. He could be a pumpkin spice cupcake, a pumpkin spice latte. There's a lot of pumpkin spice options out there.
What are you leaning towards?
I think with his coloring, he'd look like a good pumpkin spice latte.
Okay. What do you think about that, Honda?
There's no word from the peanut gallery.
There's no word. So
actually, Honda does have a Halloween costume.
Does he?
He's not thrilled to wear it. He's got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume.
Are you going to dress him up?
If I can find it. I don't know. With moving this year, things are everywhere, so I'll have to look for that.
I totally get that.
Yes.
I still have boxes in my shop that I'm like, meh. I haven't opened them in a year, so it can't be anything I really need in there, but there are still boxes that I haven't unpacked. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few.
How about yourself? What are you going out?
I will probably go as a middle-aged woman. A middle-aged woman maybe in need of hair coloring. Maybe not. No, I should be good by that point still. So last year, my first Halloween in this new house, there was only one person that made my driveway is about 200 feet long, so it's understandable.
Right.
But there's a fairly dense population along the road of houses with small, half acre, 1 acre lots. So there were trick-or-treaters out, but there was only one set of kids that made their way out my driveway. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are brave. It was quite late in the evening. I think probably lots of houses had probably closed their lights off already, and our lights were on because we were hanging out on the porch and, just enjoying the evening and hoping that some kids would come by because I bought candy in case they did, but I figured I probably wouldn't see many. Anyways, there was only one set of kids, so they got lots of candy because I didn't want it left over.
That's awesome, yeah.
So I don't even know. I might dress up as a middle-aged woman in her PJs trying to take
Having a glass of wine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I like the people who put on they put on a pair of pajamas or a robe, and then they get a whole bunch of little stuffed cats and pin all the cats all over them, so they're like the cat lady,
the crazy cat lady. That's totally what I should do. And then I can pick them off and I can throw them like they do in The Simpsons. The woman in The Simpsons throwing cats. Honda's looking at me like I'm insane. Who would throw a cat? Actually, honestly, what is the point?
You know what we could do is get a whole bunch of little stuffed dogs, and we could be the crazy dog ladies. Yeah.
I don't even think we need stuffed dogs for that.
No,
I think we're already there.
We've made it there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Status. Status. I love this.
For all the other crazy dog ladies and men joining us. Yeah.
Solidarity.
Yes. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Oh my goodness. All right. So you may have already guessed that today we're going to talk about Halloween. And we like to put this episode out every year because there's a lot of really good reminders in how to set things up at Halloween to make sure that your dog doesn't get overwhelmed, doesn't get slipped out the door. There's so many things that might happen, including safety before Halloween, safety after Halloween with all the candy, etc.
And a lot of it applies to other holidays as well. You know what? As Christmas approaches, the great big blow up Christmas trees,
the ghouls.
Yeah,
the ghouls come in from every angle.
So So a lot of this information can go over to other holidays as well. And other episodes in your life. You're having a birthday party and people are coming over, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a bad idea at all. Let's start with what I'm seeing right now as I drive through my neighborhood, which is it's fairly country, but like I said, there is a dense enough population by the road and in the surrounding roads that there's lots of those blow up scary things going on now. There's a couple of corners that I pass that have some really good decorations already. There's one with this giant blow up snake.
Oh.
And it's got this fangs and the mouth and the tongue hanging out, and it's probably, oh my gosh, it must be 10 feet high.
Right.
Like one of the
inflatable?
Inflatable and backlit. And, it looks pretty frightening.
And they do make, we don't really hear it, but they do make a low humming noise because there's air being forced into them, which we don't hear, but our dogs do hear. Yeah. So now it's this big visually scary thing, but it's humming too, which could be odd for some dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think about those things when you're out and about walking? What do you think about those things as you are working with? Let's say you had a young dog.
If I have a young dog, I'm going to always be cautious, and I'm going to assume my puppy's going to be nervous of them. So rather than just take a wait and see approach, a reactive approach, I'm going to be proactive. So I'm going to create some distance. I'm going to make sure I have good treats too. So I'm going to throw some treats in my pocket, and I'm going to take note when I'm, out and about in the neighborhood where these big blow up things are.
Okay.
And we're going to be proactive. I'm going to start across the street, and we're going to casually go by. I'm going to reward my puppy as we go by, and we're going to start to get closer and closer to them.
Perfect.
Yes. So
Perfect.
Proactive, and I'm not just going to walk my puppy right into them. I'm going to let them, be slowly slowly assimilated.
Yeah. Watch the reaction of the dog, right?
Yes.
Like, don't just assume one way or the other. Some dogs are going to go, "Ooh, look, that looks fun," and go bounding right up to it and start bouncing off it and get excited by it. And that would be an ideal reaction for a puppy. I would love for my puppy to be like, "Hey, what's that thing? I'm going to go investigate it and see if it's something that I can chew up or play with," right?
Yes.
Some dogs, though, are going to go, "Whoa, that thing is frightening."
Right, especially if it has a face.
Like it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Yeah, if something has a face, I find dogs are often even more suspicious of it.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. And what we want to do with our dogs is we want to make it a pleasant experience for them, right? I don't want to have a dog that goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm terrified of that thing." Right. And then I force them because, as humans, we go, "Oh, you're just being silly. This thing is not going to hurt you." And what we disregard is the fact that the dog is not being silly. Right. The dog is having a true reaction to their feelings. It's sort of like a child when they're hiding behind you because they're afraid of something. You're probably not well advised to yank them out and go, "Oh, you're being silly. Just confront your fears," right? You would be gentle with that child. Like, yes, we want to move forward through this. We don't want to simply hide our dogs away and say, "You're never going to see things that stress you out," because that's not realistic. Right. And then, of course, when they do see things that are stressful, if they've never spent time building resilience, not resistance.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile. If they haven't spent time learning how to build resilience and learning how to see something scary and then process and work through that with our guidance sometimes, we get to a point where our dogs go to pieces, right? Because they don't have what it takes to be able to recover from those things.
Right. Yes. And you know what I'm thinking of?
Yeah,
I'm
what?
Thinking
no,
of,
I don't know.
At Christmas time, the great big lineup for kids to see Santa.
Okay.
And back in the olden days, basically... In the olden times.
In the old-timey days.
You picked up your kid and you plunked them screaming on Santa's lap. And you'd have the obligatory photo of your child screaming in Santa's lap. And I'm so glad we don't do that now. Yeah. We recognize now our kids are truly afraid to go and sit in Santa's lap. So kids can stand beside Santa. Kids can call out from 30 feet away what they want. And we're not forcing kids.
I want a better megaphone so I don't have to yell.
But there's that an old movie called A Christmas Story with Ralphie.
You'll shoot your eye out,
right?
Kid.
That movie, and you see these kids just getting forced onto Santa's lap and absolutely terrified, and then the dressed up elf pulling them off and sending them down the slide on the Definitely is a good movie if you haven't seen it.
It is a great movie.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, there was some sort of a meme that floated around on Facebook of like, I guess it was a collection of memes because it was just hilarious kid pictures after hilarious kid pictures of like, here's a child with the Easter bunny, and it would be this terrifying looking Easter bunny, but it's supposed to be cute, and someone's made a costume and it really didn't turn out well. And of course, the child is terrified. It shouldn't be funny.
Right, yeah. And it's funny because, we often say like, "Oh, you're fine."
Yeah.
And, our child is not fine.
Absolutely.
And it's the same with our puppy. It's like, sometimes like I remember Atari would be young trees. Sometimes they put a little bit of burlap or a black bag at the bottom to protect the roots. And Atari would stop dead in her tracks and be absolutely worried. And to me, it's like, why would you be worried about that?
Yeah,
but
I
have to put myself in her shoes. Exactly. And it's like, oh, what is that? That's new. It's different. And I'm worried. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And that means that we can put our empathy forward, and we can then help them recognize that, you know what? You are being a little bit silly, but I'm not going to just disregard what you're thinking and what you're feeling. I'm going to help you work through this stress. I'm going to help you recognize that this thing is not scary. And then at that point, it'll just be a neutral thing in the environment, right?
And
I either want to create neutrality, or I want to create comfort with that thing, play emotions towards that thing, etc.
Yes. And also too, I'm not going to use this nurturing kind of pleading voice. Oh, it's okay. You'll be fine. Oh, because that's not a confident voice.
Yeah.
And the dog hears that voice and says, Christine's acting weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird voice.
Yeah.
I should be afraid.
Yeah. And it sounds like you are afraid.
Right.
It sounds like you are worried as well.
Right.
So then the dog goes, okay, if this is my leader and they're worried, I definitely should be worried. So yeah, let's drill down on this a little bit, because I think this is very counterintuitive to us as humans, of course, but we always need to remember when we're dealing with our dogs, we always need to remember they're not humans. You know, they don't have the same reactions and emotions that we do. They think like dogs do.
Right.
And if we present a confident picture in ourselves, you know, if I say, oh my gosh, this thing is great, there's nothing to be concerned about here, tap my hand, move over here, give me high five, you know, do a spin for me. Assuming that my dog is not so frightened that they can function and do those things, that's going to help them go, oh, okay, this is normal. Mom's relaxed. You know, maybe I need to be relaxed as well. And then they might get into a more investigative mode. Whereas if we're going, oh, you're okay, buddy. It's okay. You know, just follow me. We'll go and see this thing. Chances are the puppy is going, oh my gosh, you sound really worried as well, right?
It's like I remember when we first went snow tubing when my son was young, and we got up to the top of the hill and Ty looked down and went, whoa, that's scary.
Yeah.
And if I had started going, oh, come on, Ty, and you know, that would have just made the whole situation weirder.
Absolutely.
Instead, I said, well, watch me go down.
Yeah.
So he watched me go down. He saw me come back up having fun. He watched other people do it. You know, then we were able to share a snow tube and go down together.
Yeah,
and,
break it down, right?
Yeah.
Break it down now.
And then suddenly he turned into a snow tube monster and just was on his own. But yeah.
How did that happen? I didn't know he had the ability to transform into a snow tube monster. No, that's fabulous.
Right, yeah. We just, like, Ty, look at me. I'm fine. And then he watched other people and he realized that nobody was crying. Nobody was terrified.
Yeah.
And he realized, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last thing I would have done is used a nurturing, come on, it's fine, you're fine. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We need to sound confident. You know, I'm not going to be over the top shrieky with my voice. This is the most exciting thing in the world, because that's a little suspicious.
That's weird
as well.
too. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just going to sound confident. Like, you know what? I know 2 + 2 = 4. Yep. I can say that with absolute confidence. This is the voice that I'm going to use. Hey, buddy, this is not a scary thing. You know what? Tap. High five, shake, spin. Okay, now we got that. Let's walk by this thing from 15 feet away. Hey, you did great. Look, you got a cookie as you walked by. That thing's still over there. It didn't hurt you.
Right.
Let's go a little closer. We'll keep exploring this idea that this thing is not scary. This thing is not going to hurt you. And then my dog doesn't have to fall in love with that thing. You know, my puppy doesn't have to go, oh, it's the best thing in the world and want to play with it. I just want them to be comfortable. I just want them to go, okay, I can see that thing. It's not hurt me so far. Dogs are so good at reality checks, right?
Yes.
You know, if as humans, we might see that thing and be like, oh, scared, scared, scared. Dogs go, you know what? Once it's neutral, it's neutral.
Right.
If that thing then maybe started to move and started to, you know, do things that are lacking in predictability,
right,
from what the dog has already learned is a safe space, then it might become scary again for the dog. But if we just make it neutral, the dog goes, oh, okay, no big deal. And they're so honest about those emotions, right?
Yes.
With humans, we sometimes have, okay, I'm going to fake it. I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm just not going to look at the thing. I'm going to pretend I'm okay with it. Dogs don't do that, right? No. They're either going to be comfortable with it or they're not going to be comfortable with it. And we can help facilitate that thing by making sure that we're relying on our own confidence as well. I love that you brought that up. So important. So when you're out on your walks, then it's probably safe to say that when you have a young puppy, you're bringing along some good treats with them.
Yes.
Are you bringing along other things?
I might bring a toy along with me.
Okay.
I might have a favorite small toy or a little squeaky or something like that I can help to get my pup's attention back on me.
Perfect.
Yes. And I'm also, when I'm walking a young puppy, I'm doing lots of training too. We just don't go on walks. We are stopping and doing some controlled walking. We're doing some sits. We're doing some downs. I like to call them training walks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I love this. And I would absolutely rely on that instinctively. I would rely on the idea of directing my puppy. And I think a lot of times if people aren't actively training their dogs, they sometimes forget that point, because if you are in a situation where you're worried about something and somebody who is clearly an authority in that situation comes in and starts giving you direction. You know, maybe I go to the doctor's office and I'm looking at all these scary instruments and I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing with that and that and that? And I'm working myself more into my head. And then the doctor comes in and she says, the doctor comes in and she says, hey, you know what? Today, what we're doing is we're taking your temperature with this and we're just doing it under your tongue. So even though it looks sharp, it's not going to poke anything. And, you know, lift up your tongue, and she slides it under my tongue and everything is hunky dory. And I start to relax, right?
Yes.
And then I'm confident that this doctor is going to give me ongoing direction that will keep me from harm.
Yeah,
and
there's no surprises.
Exactly. And now she's a leader, in control. She's confident. She's cool. She's getting done the things that she needs done for me, for whatever reason that I've said I need to be here. She's now fixing those problems for me. So I am going to take the utmost confidence from that person to feel better about the scenario itself. And then I'm going to be looking to that person for direction in similar scenarios, right? So now if we go into another room and there's a whole bunch of other instruments, I'm going to be looking at her and thinking like, you kept me safe in that situation, so I trust you now in this new situation. Right. And that truly, for our dogs, that is a great analogy for leadership.
It is. That really, truly is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Leadership is not about being mean and militant. Leadership is about giving good direction.
Right. Yes.
It's about taking control of the situation and saying to the dog, you don't have to worry. I got you. I'm going to show you how to exist in this world where there are giant inflatable backlit snakes that suddenly appear in places they weren't before, you know? Yes. I've got you.
Yes.
Right? So,
I think of it too like a coach. It's like when your kids have a trusted coach. The coach helps them, and they're not militant, but they're coaching and
absolutely. Well, and the coaches that are militant are not the ones that are giving you good guidance, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, maybe for some people, but I think for the overwhelming majority of people, as soon as we're met with that, we go, nah, I'm only going to take so much trust in you because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like you've got my best interest at heart. You feel like a little bit of a bully, maybe.
Right, yes.
You know, and maybe not everybody feels that way. Maybe some people really like that very overbearing sort of personality, but most dogs, that's probably not what they need. Right. Most dogs need good direction. Right. And they need good, consistent, predictable direction to feel safe. Right. And then they feel good about your leadership.
Yes.
Yes. So, okay, so we've talked about like the decoration thing. I want to drill down a little bit more into this because there are some decorations that are really big. There are some decorations that are really loud. Would you take a different approach if it was something that, you know, say you're walking down the street and all of a sudden a coffin pops open and a person pops up in the coffin who is presumably dead.
Oh,
that's even scarier.
Yes.
And they're going, ho, 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 ho. Yeah. That sounded more like Christmas than Halloween, but where's my evil Halloween voice? Hang on.
Your cackle. Well, that's an entirely different, that's an unpredictable situation.
Yeah.
And you know what? That would startle me as well. But if I had my dog with me and that happened, of course, I very much may startle because I am easily startled. But when I have my dog with me, it would be like if I had a young child with me. Yeah. I am immediately thinking, I'm the leader in this situation. Yeah. I'm going to immediately try to regain composure of myself so that I can present the calm, confident leader to my dog.
Oh, I love that.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably I'm going to start moving away from it to help my dog, but at the same time, I'm going to be breaking into some play. Yeah. It's like, oh, that was funny, wasn't it? Oh, that was funny. So they look at me and go, oh, the leader kind of thought that was fun, and they're acting confident, and it was funny. just to wash any stress away.
Absolutely.
Because that's a hard one.
Yeah, it truly is.
The surprise distraction.
Yeah.
Even one day I was walking with Honda and a bicyclist came up behind us.
Oh.
And all of a sudden there was just this whir past me. And I startled because I didn't hear the bike coming up. Now, Honda's 100% deaf. He didn't hear a thing. I was the only one that startled. But if Honda could have heard, he would have startled too, I bet. And afterwards, we would have probably played and had some fun just to wash away that.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. And I mean, it should probably go without saying, but it's probably good to say anyways, that if you have a dog who has a tendency towards worry and fear, if you have a dog that is already, below average in terms of their confidence level, you might want to scope the neighborhood out before you bring your dog out. You might want to make sure that there's not something new. If I lived in a survey, for example, or my old place, it would have been really easy for me to drive the paths that I walked just to make sure there wasn't something surprising. If I had a dog who was really, weaker in temperament and really worried about the world, that dog I would want to maybe keep in a little bit more of a bubble and just let Halloween pass by rather than risk, because I know that dog already does not have the same capacity for building resilience as a dog who has a solid temperament. I might take that month and be doing a lot of fun obedience activity in my backyard instead of worrying about walks.
Right, yeah. Or driving to the park or the forest where you're not going to
Yeah.
encounter the decorations.
Absolutely. Hi, Honda. Don't drink my coffee, buddy. Or, maybe that's the month where you decide to take a tricks class with your local obedience school so that you have some things to work on so that you can keep your dog mentally, physically stimulated. There's lots of ways to exercise our dogs. We don't need to walk them. So I would say with a dog who it really would be more detrimental than good to push the exposure thing, I wouldn't push it.
Right. Yes.
That dog just needs to weather the storm, so to speak, until Halloween is over, and then we can return to our regularly scheduled programming.
Right. Yes.
I'm only going to push if I have a dog that I know has a solid temperament and has the ability to build the resilience and get over the stress piece.
Right. And there's many dogs that this won't apply to. So many of our dogs are just good old dogs, and they will glance at it and just take it in stride and keep going.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
But until when you have a new dog, until you get to know them, be aware that they may startle.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And knowing them as well as being honest about what you're seeing in them. If there's things that you're not sure of and you're not sure why they're reacting the way they're reacting, it really is worth your while to consult a professional and understand them 100%. Too many times people will assume that the thing that their dog is doing or the way that their dog is reacting is something that's based on how a human would do it and the human's emotions. Right. And we just lead ourselves astray and we do our dogs a disservice by assuming that they are reacting in the way that a human would react. So we really need to understand the heart of the dog and understand that dog in front of us so that we can help them in the best possible way we can.
And if you have a dog and you're not sure of its background too, so many people will see the dog react to something and then make up a story that must have happened to the dog before they got them. I have a friend whose dog is afraid of baths and water.
Okay.
And I think he adopted the dog around 4 months. And he tells everyone that he feels someone must have tried to drown the dog before he got it. And because the dog's afraid of water. And sometimes you just don't want to get into things.
Yeah,
it's, he's not asking me it as a professional dog trainer. He's just letting me know what he thinks. And I think, you know what? There's a 99.999% chance no one has ever tried to drown this dog.
Yeah.
The dog just has a fear of water that we have to work through. But that's a firm excuse in his mind for the dog.
Yeah.
And so try not to play into excuses. We can all get past those things with our dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so much easier on everybody on an emotional level if we don't invent stories of what might have been. There's so many dogs that just missed the critical socialization window for whatever reason. And those dogs just really didn't get a positive exposure to that thing, whether it's a broomstick or a man with a hat or whatever the thing is. There's always, we fill in these holes in our mind when a dog says, ooh, I'm afraid of that thing. And especially when it's a dog that's not normally afraid of things.
Right.
we fill in these holes and say, well, there must have been a bad experience with that thing. But with dogs, there may just have been no experience with that thing.
Right.
So rather than having neutrality because they were well socialized, they instead go, oh my gosh, that thing's scary. And then when we get emotive in response and we go, oh my gosh, the poor thing, somebody must have drowned him. So I can't possibly help him become resilient around water because it would just be far too traumatizing for him. And it doesn't help anybody.
Right.
You know, it truly doesn't, unless you know for certain what the facts were. And even then, dogs are so good at living in the moment. We can help them. We're not going to go and try to drown them in the bathtub. We're going to start by putting them in an empty tub and giving them their meals in that empty tub and saying, hey, you know what? I might even start by smearing a bunch of peanut butter on the lid of the tub and saying, go to town, buddy. Go investigate the tub. This is a really cool thing. And then once he's like, oh, the tub's kind of cool. I actually wrote an article long time ago now. It's on the McCann Dogs blog. If you want me to like the bath, don't just throw me in.
Yes.
You know, you can't just go about the thing. You want to introduce in a nice, positive way, especially when it's foreign.
Not just introducing the tub, it's the sound of the water too. So many dogs are afraid of the sound of that pounding water into the I can imagine with tubs being made out of whatever they're made out of, they echo a bit. So get the dog used to the sound of the water while you play with them, while you feed them.
Was it an old-timey tub or a new modern tub?
No, I have
different.
Most modern, sleekest tub.
No, truly, it's so important to help build the understanding of these things, that they are not something to be afraid of. And when we get into our own heads and our own emotions so hard that we can't see through those to help the dog, that's problematic. That truly is problematic.
Yes.
So, you know, try not to fill in holes on things. Sometimes dogs, a lot of the times, under socialized with something in particular appears as something that the dog may have had a previous bad experience with. And usually it's not the bad experience. Usually it's the under socialization.
So, then there's some dogs that just genetically are afraid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like I'm not a super brave person. No, and I
think you're pretty brave.
Well, I'm brave, but I'm not. I know what I'm not brave in, and that's my genetics most likely. Yeah.
Well, let me know what it is, and I'll see how we can.
I will never tell Shannon what I'm afraid of. It'll be in my office.
I don't like clowns. I don't like clowns at all. Yeah, I will. I'll flood you.
I'm afraid of candy, Shannon.
Oh my gosh,
of candy.
I think you're pulling my leg, but I'm gonna fill your cubby all full of candy.
It was Instructor Nell's birthday the other day, who we had on the podcast.
Yay, and happy birthday, Instructor Nell. Happy belated birthday, Nell.
Yes, her family brought her donuts. So our back room was filled with donuts. It was so good.
So many
good.
Donuts.
Yes. I don't know why I brought that up, but
they were good.
I'm still thinking about them. Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is because you talked about candy, and now your brain's going all over all of the wonderful candy that you've had in your life. It's great. Alrighty. So I want to talk about some of the other decorations, because some of them have innate danger to them, right? Some of them, if they contain candy, are going to be attractive to the dogs. Some of them, if they are pumpkins that we have carved interesting faces on and then stuck a candle in. I'm sure you can imagine where I'm going with this.
Yes.
So whether that's on your front porch or on someone else's front porch, obviously pumpkin is a food. Right. And it has a strong scent to it. And
pumpkins in many of our dogs' treats and many of our dogs' foods have pumpkin base in it. Yeah.
They do. Absolutely. So it's going to be something that is attractive to a dog. And of course, if there's a candle in it, that can be a really dangerous situation. So if you are somebody who doesn't like to keep good control of your dog on neighborhood walks, that is something that I would strongly reconsider for the Halloween period of time, because there are so many different things. And Halloween through Christmas, I mean, really, honestly, you should have good control of your dog on all walks, neighborhood or not. So I would strongly encourage you to train so that your dog doesn't go up and visit other people's porches, etc. But know that if you don't have good control of them, there is that danger of the candle inside the jack-o'-lantern that may be burning. And who knows? I mean, there's lots of fake candles nowadays, but I'm sure there's lots.
I'm a traditional. I like the traditional flickering real candle. It's got more of that spookiness.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Speaking of things around the house, at Halloween there's more candy around the house. Yeah. We also have kids bringing candy and perhaps just dumping their sack of candy on the bedroom floor to sort through.
You mean kids that are hopped up on sugar aren't 100% responsible?
They're not. I used to work at an emergency vet clinic, and the day after Halloween, we got so many phone calls of dogs who have basically ate a pillowcase full of candy that the kids left on the floor. Wrappers and all. So if you have young children who are trick-or-treating, the parent needs to take the responsibility. You know, you can tell kids over and over again.
And you probably will.
Yep. Not to put your candy on the floor, not to have your candy where the dog can get it.
Yeah.
But kids are kids.
Yeah, they are.
We're the responsible
excited.
adults. Yes.
They're hopped up on sugar.
Yes. So
we're young, rich, and full of sugar. What do we do?
So it's the parent's responsibility to check on the kids.
Yeah.
Where have they put their Halloween candy? Get it up high, keep it out of the dog's tempting reach.
Absolutely. And then you can also ration the candy to your kids, and you can steal some.
Right, yes. There's the parent tax. The parent tax. Yes. I need to check all these candies for poison.
Yeah.
There's a tax for that. Yeah.
So, and let's talk about chocolate toxicity for a minute here, because there's a lot of people who go, oh yeah, chocolate is dangerous for dogs. And then there's a lot of people who go, oh, my dog's eating chocolate and they survived to tell the tale. So obviously that's bull hunky. Bull hunky. Is it honky or hunky?
Is it bull hockey or is it?
Oh, I don't think it's hockey.
Hockey.
I think I'm asking.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Let us know if you know what it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyways.
Right. Yeah. So
I digress. So chocolate.
Yeah. So milk chocolate isn't as toxic as a baker's chocolate, a dark chocolate. So the darker your chocolate is, the more theobromine in it.
Yeah, which theobromine, caffeine, those are the things.
Right, yeah, and just sugar too. Yeah. So no chocolate is good for dogs, but if your dog gets into darker chocolates, you need to immediately get them to the vet clinic. If they get into milk chocolate, call the vet clinic to find out. They have we used to have it was called a chocolate toxicity calculator.
Yeah, I've seen those before. I included one in a blog post I wrote about chocolate
and
toxicity
the vet clinic will, was it milk chocolate? How much did they eat? Kind of have an idea of how many grams they ate and the weight of your dog. And but still, I don't even err on the side of caution. Keep chocolate up.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that those wrappers can cause blockage. The candies themselves can be a choking hazard. There's so many reasons. Yeah,
and the wrappers, a foil wrapper in your dog, a small dog, that can be a blockage.
Yeah, absolutely. So use due caution and probably take responsibility for it if you have the young kids, which, you know what, my parents always did that anyways. Mm-hmm. And I think because otherwise we would have just been hopped up and hyper and up all night and the whole thing.
My mom always gave us a big Tupperware container and we'd pour our candy in it. Okay. And it was in our room to eat as we pleased.
Oh. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
That's why you're so addicted to sugar these days. I get it now. Now I understand more about the swan. Yeah. It's always nice when you get insight into your friends. All right. So the chocolate thing is definitely, the candy thing is definitely something that we want to be well aware of.
Another big one.
What's that?
The constant knocking at your door, the constant people at your door. That's probably one of the huge ones.
Yeah. So what are we doing with our dogs while Halloween is actually happening? And aside from my place where, I get my one kid traipsing up the driveway.
On Halloween, my dogs are crated or they're behind a baby gate.
Perfect.
And I might have, if I'm doing some training with the dog, maybe I'll have them on a leash while someone else answers the door so I can train the dog to be calm during this.
Yeah, that's what I did with Ned. It was perfect because I had another person there. I had my partner there at the time. And I said to him, Ned was, he was born in March, so he would have been 7-8 months by Halloween when he was a puppy and we were in the city. So the doorbell was ringing with lots of little trick-or-treaters every couple of minutes. And I said to Kip, you're on door duty because I'm training my puppy. Right. I thought, this is a great opportunity. Yeah. How often do I get so many people
once a year?
Exactly. You might have somebody knock on your door every so often, but for the most part, this is a great training opportunity. Right, exactly, and I'm going to take advantage of all the repetition I'm going to be able to get in. So we set up a little bed. I had him with his leash on so that I could make sure that I could control the situation. Now I did just let the leash drag because he was well enough behaved at that point that was safe for me to do so. But I also put a baby gate across just in case.
Better to be safe than sorry. Yep.
Absolutely. And with my young dog in training, this was the perfect scenario because I just worked on his bed stay for the whole time and he got lots of rewards. Basically, I took his dinner ration for that evening and he spent his evening working and maintaining that bed stay. And then every once in a while, I'd release him and do some tricks. So you're listening in other capacity as well while there's somebody at the front door. But for the most part, buddy, I just want you to relax on your bed. Right. And that's what you're going to do as this doorbell rings. And, it was a great training opportunity.
It really is, yes. But if you're on your own, then definitely crate your dog or have them behind a gate so you could focus on the evening and have fun with the kids.
Absolutely.
Yes. And your dog doesn't need to see the children in their costumes.
Yeah. And
dogs don't appreciate them like we do.
That's true. But so for somebody who does want to involve their dog in the festivities, I would say that if I had a dog that was like the good old family dog that I know, people can come into the house and the dog's like, oh, I'm happy and wiggly and I'm not going to jump likely to get put off, I would probably have still a baby gate because I don't want to take the chance that I'm so excited about this child in their costume that I forget to watch the dog and the dog goes and follows, little Timmy from down the street. My dog goes and follows him on his Halloween adventures while I'm not paying attention. So I would have some sort of a fail-safe in place there. But if I know that my dog is not likely to react negatively with the trick-or-treaters and going to have a good time, I might let him be out and watch the festivities, but I probably would have that fail-safe in place of just having some sort of a barrier there, just to make sure no accidents happen. And fail-safes
the dog's
are nice.
Under good verbal control too.
Yes. Yeah, that too. I wouldn't ever take the risk if I didn't know how the dog was going to react. I think that's a really important thing to say. If you're like, I'm not sure how my dog's going to do tonight with all the trick-or-treaters coming to the door, I'm not going to take that chance because I am distracted by the trick-or-treaters. I am trying to hand out candy. As humans, we have this desire to maintain normalcy even when our dogs are sort of losing their minds a little bit. So I wouldn't want to have to push through and give the trick-or-treaters their stuff while I'm trying to manage my dog at the same time, right?
And another thought, too, is a lot of children are afraid of dogs.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If you have like a dog at your side and the dog starts to get a bit boisterous, you could have a young child, react, walk backwards and fall off your porch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's a danger. Because I remember bringing Ty out and of course, all of a sudden there's 6 kids in costumes and masks all squashed on a porch. There's a pumpkin on the porch. A lady opened her door and a dog came out. Oh. And a lot of the kids started squealing and backing away. Oh, no. And I remember thinking, they're all going to fall. They're all going to fall back down the stairs. But luckily nothing happened. But I thought, that lady should have assessed the situation and not put a dog out on the porch with unknown children.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's bigger risk on Halloween just because kids are moving faster and they're all excited and we worry about traffic.
A lot of them can't see in their masks.
Yeah.
Well,
oh, that's a good point too.
A lot of them don't
I didn't
see.
Really think about that one.
Right. Or they're having trouble moving. Maybe they have like a robot costume with boxes and they can't see. And you have a jack-o'-lantern, which has got fire in it.
Ooh.
A dog, a small porch.
Oh, you're bringing the bears this week.
I got the bears, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm just sitting here terrified that some child's getting hurt on Halloween.
So but think of the children.
Yeah. Somebody please think of the children.
That's for Albert.
Yeah. Yes. There you go, Albert. We're always thinking about you, bud. Yeah. So and something I think that is so important to say. If you do not know that your dog is that steady Eddie dog that is just going to go, oh, look, there's a little child dressed up as a devil. There's a little child dressed up in a robot costume. There's there's all these lights in action. There's so much going on. If you don't know that your dog's just going to go, meh, no big deal, you run the risk of that dog panicking and fleeing. Right. And without a fail-safe in place of a baby gate or a dog well-crated or something of that nature, that could be your worst nightmare for the evening. So, if it's the first Halloween for sure, Use every precaution.
Yes.
Make sure that your dog is going to be safe.
It's only one night of the year. If you have to put your dog away, it's one night of the year. Yeah. And dogs don't know what Halloween is. They don't mind.
Not at all. Not at all. Put them in a room where they're far away from the door and the action and whatnot. Put on some music in the background. The McCann Dogs Music Channel has all sorts of great.
I think we do have a Halloween one too.
Nice.
I think if you scroll through it, scroll through the videos, you'll find the Halloween dog music.
Yeah, there you go. And the idea is to sort of drown out all that extra noise so that the dog's not panicking in the crate the whole time. They're just having some time in the crate, and there's these, bass tones that kind of cover the noise and things like that. One year at my old house on Alice Street, there was a small child that wandered up to the porch, and their parents sort of stayed about midway back on the path. They were toddler-ish, not the parent, but the child was toddler-ish. And I gave the child the candy, and then the child just started walking into my house. And right away, the parent started running towards him like, no, don't go inside their house, Timmy, or, every neighborhood child apparently is Timmy. It's like great Aunt Ida. No, don't go in the house, Timmy. And I was laughing, but like, luckily my dogs are safe with kids, and I had the baby gate there and like no issue, but things happen,
right? The child at your door is unpredictable.
Exactly. Yep. And there's a lot of parents that are going, oh, this is their first Halloween where they're actually walking. Right. Or this is their first Halloween where they're getting a little bit more independent and they want us to stay back. Like, you don't know what's going to happen in that scenario and whether or not that child is going to go, oh, I can't even remember in my head why the child was coming into the house. But for some reason, they just thought that was part of it. It's
probably you saying, come on in. Come on in.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But it's the unpredictability factor with all of it that makes it something that you want to plan a little bit beforehand and make sure that you are ready for the unexpected to happen. So
how about costumes? Do you dress up your dogs?
I don't dress up my dogs for Halloween. I do have a few costumes, and I've actually bought those costumes for Instructor Carol's rally classes.
Yes, our in-person classes. They were all dressed up last night. It was rally graduation, and the students were in last night, and the owners in a costume and the dogs in a costume, and there's music. It's so much fun.
Were there good ones last night? Did any stand out?
You know what? There were. I know there was a vampire human, and a vampire dog. Okay. And there was, I think, a pumpkin dog and a pumpkin person. Cool. I guess with Halloween it was easy. And I think other people were maybe like a hobo. The dog and the humans look like a hobo, like riding the rails.
Like the littlest hobo?
No, like the old-fashioned riding the rail hobo. With the little spindle backpack, back in the olden days.
The old-timey days.
The old-timey days.
Those old-timey days, yeah. So both of my costumes were sort of plays on Ned's name. So one, his nicknames, really. One was a little tuxedo, and that was, we were team improper netiquette, because I often call him, I say, you have bad netiquette, just in a joking way.
Right.
You're such a bad netiquette. He's a good netiquette too. But
the other one is my favorite.
The other one is the favorite. Yeah. Yes. Vegetable Nedley. It's one of our nicknames. It's one of my favorite nicknames Vegetable to call him. Basically anything where Ned will roll in. I call him incognito. My brain works in mysterious ways.
It's really ridiculous.
So trust her. She knows. So Vegetable Nedley came from that nickname, and I was a pea in my pea costume, and I got a little carrot costume for him, which didn't fit well because, costumes apparently are supposed to be for little dogs, and Ned is, I wouldn't say he's a little dog. He's not a big dog, but I wouldn't say he's a little dog either by any stretch. So it kind of was a little bit too tight on him, but he was supposed to be a carrot.
He was a baby carrot.
He was a baby carrot. And we were Team Vegetable Nedley, and we won a trophy. Yeah. So it was all worthwhile.
And now every time I go to the grocery store and see a can of vegetables, it's always not Vegetable Medley. It's Vegetable Nedley. So grocery shopping is ruined.
Campbell's, you need to change the name of your soup to Vegetable Nedley, because now it will be the preferred name for Vegetable Medley. Oh my goodness. Poor dog.
He is orange like a carrot.
He is orange like a carrot. I probably didn't even really need a costume for him. Or maybe I could have just gotten like a little crown.
Little green. Yeah, little green thing. Oh, dyed his tail green.
Oh, God.
Because then it would be like the carrot top, the green top. Yeah.
But wouldn't that be the bottom of the carrot then? That just, my brain doesn't compute. I don't know. It seems like it would have to be on his head.
Oh, he's like he's like a vertical carrot. Or is that horizontal? No, a horizontal carrot.
Horizontal carrot
coming
in back first.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. All righty. Any more warnings about Halloween that you can think about?
I would get your dog used to seeing your kids dressed up before.
That's a great idea. Did you do that with Ty?
Yeah, Ty would always try on his costume before, and and I'd always make sure that the dogs watched him put it on, and he just didn't suddenly appear as a werewolf in the room or whatever he was going to be. They saw him putting it on.
Yeah.
If I was wearing a costume that night to give out candy, I'd make sure that they investigated my mask. They watched me put it on.
I love that.
Right, so I'm proactive.
Yeah, and this is a really nice way, actually, as you're saying it. This is a really nice way of breaking it down. Mm-hmm. We talk about all the time that when your dog is uncertain about something or confused about something, we need to break it down into bite-sized chunks for them.
Right.
And this is a great way of breaking it down by saying, okay, here's somebody you're familiar with, right? You know and trust Ty and Swanee. Mm-hmm. These are people in your family unit. You know these people. Watch them change and look like different things,
right?
And take it in and know that it's not a big deal.
Right.
And, that in and of itself is something that is different, but aligned with Halloween. And it's going to help prepare them for the fact that other people are going to show up looking a little bit different.
Yes.
I love it.
Right. Yes. Because some costumes are quite threatening to a dog too.
Oh, yeah.
Like you might find
some costumes are threatening to people.
Right.
Oh,
yes.
my goodness.
Like you might find your dog is fine with all the little kids and you think, oh, well, let's maybe go out for a walk later.
Yeah.
When there's older teenagers out, they might look extremely threatening.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
A kid in a great big, walking towards your dog might be scary.
Yeah.
So, often on Halloween, if I'm going to walk my dogs in the evening, I wait till the trick-or-treaters are off the street and take them out. Yes.
Yeah, especially if your dog is used to walking in a quiet neighborhood and then all of a sudden there's these big packs of scary beings.
Right.
That's a lot for them to have to take in.
There might be candy on the ground too, so be careful when you're walking. If your dog drops his head, maybe some kids dropped a Snickers bar on the ground. So, be aware of that the next few days when you're out walking. You might find candy on the street.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look, a piece of candy.
Yep.
Look, a piece of candy. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. So all of the time that comes after Halloween, make sure that you are very careful with that candy, as we talked about. It is something that's going to be very attractive to dogs, even just by sight, but definitely by smell.
Right.
And make sure that all the plastic pieces that sometimes come with our holiday
decorations,
celebrations, make sure that those are not available for the dog to eat as well, because they can definitely cause you some struggles as well. And take a little bit of an inventory of things too, because I find that this is truer for Easter, where we actually hide eggs all over the place. But if you send all the kids out to collect the eggs, or maybe you have a Halloween party where you do something similar with food, with candies, etc. If you send all the kids out to collect them and you assume that the kids have collected them all, that might be a poor assumption, and it might be something that causes some damage to your dog. Especially with our little dogs with chocolate, we want to make sure that they're not getting any of it, because their systems won't tolerate it.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, with you have other holidays approaching. So we have Halloween. The Americans will have their Thanksgiving, which is huge in November.
We actually have Thanksgiving before Halloween.
Yes.
We didn't even talk about Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We could have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's Christmas. So we're coming kind of into a holiday season.
Yeah.
So now's the time to start getting your dog prepared. The preparations you do for Halloween are going to help you with your preparations for Christmas too. So your dog's like, hey, I can take all these new people. I can take all these decorations, different things coming in and out of the house in stride.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, I'm Instructor Shannon.
Happy Halloween, Instructor Swanee.
Happy Halloween, Instructor Swanee.
That didn't go as planned. But
Happy Halloween, everybody.
People know what I meant.
The McCann Dogs Podcast is brought to you by McCann Professional Dog Trainers. We help dog owners to have a well-behaved, four-legged family member. Please give us a call at 905-659-1888 or visit us at mccanndogs.com. Happy training!